Yeah, yeah,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of the 2 Point Conversion. I guess it's the second episode of the off-season version of the show, uh, but this is also the second host on the show. Gladys couldn't make it for this episode, so she asked me to join her. For those who don't know me, I co-host with Gladys on the 2 Point Conversion in-season episodes where we preview Monday Night Football games. Gladys gets the 2 Point Conversion show on her own. I'll also be doing press coverage alternating Mondays starting in March. So glad to be on the Going for Two Live Network again. But of course, the 2 Point Conversion requires two people. And 2 episodes in a row now, we've had the new co-host on the 2 Point Conversion, Courtney at Love Tractor 3.
Woohoo! Sorry I'm in my car tonight, boys and girls, but unfortunately, stuff happens. But we are still here, and it's going to be a great show, and we're going to talk about some fun little things. So let's roll, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you're driven. That's the first. But yeah, we're driven to do the best we can here, talk fantasy football. Of course, everything Going for Two is mostly fantasy, but I love talking sports in general. So there's definitely a few good sports topics to talk about. But how do you want to start this evening?
Let's talk about one of the things that has been bothering me the most since I heard it. And of course, we knew it was going to happen, but T. Higgins getting the franchise tag. Not a big fan of that move. I just really was hoping to see him go somewhere where he could be that undisputed wide receiver one. Because how many times do we flip back and forth, right? Chase is hurt and T. Higgins just blows up in the fantasy world, right? And I just think that he would have been so great somewhere where he would have been that wide receiver one. The Titans, DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be forever there. And, he would definitely be the wide receiver one there. He would definitely be the wide receiver one, say, in like Giants land. There's just so many opportunities that he could have gone somewhere. And, I don't know. I guess I kind of hate it for him.
Well, I guess to some of those spots, I mean, Titans not so much because it does look like Will Levis might have something there. But
yeah,
I feel like any wide receiver going to the Giants, sure, they're automatically number one, but it's
got to have the quarterback.
Daniel Jones and Tommy DeVito as your quarterbacks. I don't really love that as to get the. I'd rather him be second fiddle with Burrow than number one with them. But to your point, there might have been like the Chiefs, for instance. Could he have gone to the Chiefs? Or that's like the best of both worlds, almost in a sense. Or if the Bills and Stephon Diggs really don't make it work, does he go to Buffalo to replace that number one role there? So there was good quality quarterbacks that could use a number one receiver. Maybe not the Giants.
What if they paired him with, if we think that the Commanders might go for Jaden Daniels, right? And they put him as quarterback, what if he would have been there? Because, I don't know, I mean, Curtis Samuel's not, he kind of had some great games this season, but I don't know. I don't think that, and my mind just completely went blank. Who's our other guy there? Who's our other guy there? Yeah, no, well, Jahan Dodson too. No, our main guy. Why is my mind going blank, Kyle? Help me. Thank you, Scary Terry. Scary Terry is just not the guy that everybody hopes he is every season, right? So, I mean, that could be an opportunity. How much fun would that have been for T. Higgins to go into a place where, they're like a CJ Stroud, if Jaden Daniels, actually pans out and he went to the Commanders, how much fun would that have been to see him like that,
I mean, Daniels or even Drake May, like any of those rookies, really, if we think that they're good enough to be drafted there, for sure, that could, especially I think of, their new offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. What was his most noted thing at Arizona? 4 wide receivers and we got Logan Thomas. We don't really need to use the tight end. He's so old, doesn't matter. So it's an offense where you could have even your top 3 receivers all be, productive. Well, I think Higgins is probably a lot better than Jahan Dotson and on the level where he and McLaurin, who is the number one, it almost, if they both get enough targets, it would maybe be one of those things where they're alternating weeks where they're number one. It might be a little tricky, but it also could be one of those things where they're just both really productive all season. But again, it requires the quarterback. So
True.
You mentioned Stroud.
True.
One rumor I had heard was the Texans might be interested in T. Higgins, added just another weapon for C.J. Stroud. And maybe he's not the undisputed number one, but I think there might be weeks where he is, whereas, but he's always going to be number two behind Chase. There's a few receivers that, if he was with Justin Jefferson, for instance, he'd clearly always be the number two there. But against Nico Collins, Tank Dell, there might be weeks where
he could be the number one.
He could be the number one, yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be like a lot more interesting and a lot competitive. So to your credit, it would have been better if he went to a spot where it wasn't so certain that he is locked in as the number two. Now, number two in that offense could still be really productive because I believe Tyler Boyd is a free agent. And with this money spent franchise tag with T. Higgins, they probably don't want to repay Boyd what they've been paying him the last couple seasons. He probably wants to make that type of money, so it might be elsewhere. So Tanner Hudson at tight end kind of emerged last year, but there could still be a lot of more opportunity in general for those top receivers to just even expand their target shares.
I know. I mean, I know the world of football, and it's all politics and, what they have to do to keep their guys, but I just hate it for T. Higgins. I really think that of course he doesn't want to leave there. He's got his home there, his family there, his bros there, but I just think that there would have been so much wonderful opportunity for him somewhere else, and I really like T. Higgins, but it is what it is. He's staying a Bengal.
Well, there is also a rumor that was I'd heard a bit before the season, before the end of last season, and before the tag happened, was the Bengals weren't going to just let him go as a free agent, but if they don't want to pay him long term, they might actually trade him this offseason, tag him to know that they control him, and they'll trade him to the other team that is willing to give him that extension. So while they have tagged him, we don't know 100% that he will still be playing for the Bengals this year. There's still that possibility of a trade. It maybe is, I don't know if it's, especially because of how early they tagged him. It's given them more time to negotiate those trades with teams. So I just, if nothing happens by the draft, it's probably not happening. But until then, maybe there's still some movement to be had.
Interesting. I like that. I like that thought a lot.
Glad I could be so positive. Do you have Higgins? I know because you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, and we'll talk positive thoughts because everything about Dynasty is so fun. But,
I do, and I had Tanner Hudson on I picked him up in like 2 Dynasty leagues and loved him, and he produced for me because I ended up having, gosh, I can't even think. Like I had Juwan Jennings, who didn't do anything, and I had Juwan Johnson. I'm sorry, yes, that didn't do anything.
I have a team with Hudson, and part of it was because I was going to the year with, okay, let's trust the Saints player, and I can understand why you do that. I don't know why I did that.
Well, I also had Greg Dulcich. I had Greg Dulcich like everywhere too, right? Yeah. And so that really threw a wrench into things. So I really hope that he emerges back this year, this next season underneath Sean Payton. Who knows what's going to happen there in Bronco land, but I hope that he emerges back and stays healthy this season. I really do.
Wonder if a former Saint that's there, Adam Troutman, might eventually show some promise too. If Peyton seems to like it.
But it's the hair, man. That hair's got to get Dulcich somewhere. It's too good. It's too good.
He can be in the Mahomes commercials with him and Troy. I love Tiny Troy.
Tiny Troy. That's a great commercial. So
they need to do one with Mini Mahomes, where Troy's the one that's.
No, Patrick Mahomes doesn't need anything else. He's got enough.
Okay.
He's got enough.
Fair enough.
Fair.
But anyway, so it's funny because, the one league where I had Juwan Johnson going into the season hoping to be my tight end, I ended up trading, I think, a 3rd-round pick for Zach Ertz as he was early productive in the season. And I thought, okay, someone might just want to move off because he's old. Oh, yeah, he got old and got hurt and he never played again. So that's great.
Got old and hurt real quick.
At the start of the season. To be fair, he's played an old man game, good at catching, the Jason Witten style, not a lot after the catch. He's done that most of his career. So he's always played an old man's game. It's which is great for PPR leagues because he is a reliable receiver, which is probably why I wanted to trade for him. Because, okay, Juwan Johnson's not really catching enough passes. Get him in stable volume here, and then nope, the volume evaporated. And then I traded a 3rd for Jonnu Smith because, the way the Falcons were using him, it was interesting.
Yes.
And then they stopped using him. And then thankfully I picked up Tanner Hudson. I still lost in the first round of the playoffs.
Of course they did, because they had Arthur Smith leading them. Like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for Steelers fans. Gladys and I talked about this last week. Arthur Smith is a train wreck, and I don't understand how Mike Tomlin let that happen. Like, I think that him and Mike Tomlin, I feel like that would be so much headbutting that Mike Tomlin wouldn't be able to have him there. I don't know. That's just my thought, but I don't think it's a good move, and I think that Arthur Smith does not deserve to be coaching in the NFL.
Well, I know that it was Dwayne McFarland, and I believe he was Marcus Grant. They were talking about Arthur Smith exactly, and it seems like I mean, the perception is that he did a good job as the offense coordinator with the Titans, and when he's not the head coach, that's where his better role is as an offense coordinator as opposed to a head coach. But also that he schemed up the run game incredibly well, and the short passing yards after the catch game. It's the downfield offense that maybe the spacing of the receivers isn't great. There's some flaws there, but I also wonder if Tomlin is sticking his hand, like he's relying on someone who's really strong with the run game. Is that okay? Yeah, we have no choice but to go back to the Steelers' way of run attack defense because we don't have the quarterback, and that might be why. Why have an amazing offensive coordinator that can design this amazing pass game if Kenny Pickett's your quarterback? But I also, it does seem like the Steelers are going to make a move at quarterback. But the Justin Fields rumors, I do wonder if he's the type of quarterback that would work well in an Arthur Smith system because the run game is so schemed up well. But now he'd have a problem with receiver spacings, which is a flaw with the Luke Getsy offense. So he might have PTSD from that. I don't know.
So to that point, do you think that Justin Fields will go to the Steelers? And if so, obviously, then that means that the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. I mean, that's the thought process. What do you think is going to happen in Commanderland? You think they're going to draft a quarterback and get rid of Sam Howell, or let that new quarterback play under Sam Howell for a couple games?
Yeah, rookie quarterbacks, they're cheap. Maybe I could see them just. I mean, because there's Mac Jones on this rookie contract. There's Sam Howell, Fields, like all these quarterbacks. Not enough teams are going to want to trade for them, so they may have no choice but to just be on those teams. Like I've heard that, like the Jets will try and trade Zach Wilson. Who will want to trade for Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
So some of these teams might not have a choice. So like the Washington Commanders don't get any good price for Sam Howell. They may be just inclined to keep him. Good insurance policy for whoever, but I don't know. I guess I'm tomorrow night in the Full Press Fantasy Pod. I'm going to talk to George Carmi, who does cover the Washington Commanders. So I'll maybe get a better sense of what they're thinking. But my prevailing thought, it seems like they're just going to go quarterback at 2, whether it's Drake May, Jaden Daniels, whoever's left over, not Caleb Williams, it seems. Or the Commanders want Williams so bad that they're willing to move up one spot with the Bears. The Bears can still get a rookie quarterback, whether it's May or Daniels. And the Commanders end up trading out 4 and taking Caleb Williams at 1. And the Bears just move back one spot. They still get a quarterback. They can still reset that rookie contract with if there are quarterbacks there they also believe. So that'll be all about the Bears' evaluation. Do they move down to 3 with the Patriots? Do the Patriots come up for Caleb Williams? And the Bears, they're like, there's 3 solid quarterbacks. We don't really mind which one we get. So if you can make a great deal to move up 2 spots and give us tons of extra, we'll take that 3rd quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense because I think that they're really, all 3 of them are very good quarterbacks that are out there. And I think the one that is hurting the most is the Patriots, right? Mac Jones we can't do another season of Mac Jones. And I think that Sam Howell is decent. And of course, we all know that Fields he's good on his feet. He just this season got an actual, wide receiver to throw the ball to. But I don't think he's happy there, and I don't think they're happy with him. So I think that they'll end up getting rid of him for sure.
It seems like it. It seems the more and more time goes on that the decision of do we trade out of the first and build around Fields, like do we just draft Marvin Harrison? It seems like that's going away. Like the Bears. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see them really moving down further than 3 spots. Like, if the Commanders or the Patriots want Caleb Williams that bad, they're willing to give them a Godfather offer to move up one of those 2 spots.
Yeah.
I could see them moving down there.
The Godfather offer.
Yeah, something the Bears just can't refuse.
I like it.
I don't see any other scenario where they trade out. Like, I don't see them, like some people have talked to, the Falcons, they're going to move on from Desmond Ridder, another guy that they probably can't trade. They're stuck on a rookie contract as a backup quarterback. Probably Kenny Pickett as well, honestly. If the Steelers do bring in Justin Fields, Pickett's probably still on the team, just as the backup. I don't know that anyone's going to want to trade for him. So
right. I could see somebody wanting Desmond Ridder. I think that he could still be that backup guy. I could actually see that being some type of, I don't know, Sam Howell going down to the Falcons and them getting their guy and them going straight off the back to, I guess where the Commanders quarterbacks go to die, right? Heineke went down there. Sam Howell go down there,
do the Falcons just trade Heineke back to the Commanders? We missed him. Let's bring him back too.
Maybe. Maybe.
Guy for a rookie quarterback. He's the guy you want to bring in there. Desmond Ridder is just this scout team quarterback will take forever. Look,
why aren't they putting us in charge of this, Kyle? We can make this really simple for everybody.
Maybe the Falcons just go with Sam Howell. Maybe he's better than Desmond Ridder. We should have drafted him instead of Desmond Ridder. Yes. Oops, our bad.
Yes.
But we'll admit our mistake. We'll pay extra, and then that way they can, with their 8th overall pick, draft another running back. Who knows?
Yes.
Or a tight end.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right.
I don't think there's a running back going in the first round this year.
But I think that would be really smart. That was one of the thoughts that I was thinking. I was like, man, Sam Howell, I think could go down to the Falcons and do better than Desmond Ridder, and now you're saying push back Taylor Heineke there so that he actually is the veteran behind him. I like that. Yeah, they should just ask our opinion. You and I could just figure this draft out for everybody.
Let's go apply to the Falcons. But anyway, this whole conversation started with Sean Tanner Hudson, but the whole idea was T. Higgins in Dynasty. So you said you do have him in a league.
No, I had Tanner Hudson. I do not have T. Higgins. No.
And I only had him in one of my 11 Dynasty leagues. And I actually ended up just recently trading him away before the tag news.
What'd you get for him?
I got Tank Dell and a 25 third. So it's
That's
essentially
pretty good.
Converting to a younger receiver, one who might be the number one on his offense. Again, like that, we love that Houston situation. Not that we don't love the Bengals situation. But part of my fear was, the Giants signed T. Higgins. It's like, oh God, that just tanks his value. So I kind of I've been trying to move him really for almost, I think, the last 2 seasons and just haven't got a good enough offer. Or any offers I've sent out have been rejected. And anyone who's tried to trade for Higgins, it hasn't been great prices. And I felt this league is telling me he's not as valued in this particular league. So I decided this is probably as good as it's going to get. So let's go with Tank Dell. I didn't have any Tank Dell shares. I wanted to move on from Higgins. I don't have any more of him. So it's really moving from one receiver to another, but changing the exposure there. I think I'd rather have Tank Dell.
Well, I have the 1-2 in a league, and shows you how good I did. And
I've
somebody
got the 1-1 in a league.
But see, I'm set at quarterbacks. I have got Anthony Richardson. I'm set at quarterbacks, and who else do I have in that? I've got Anthony Richardson. I've got Kyle Murray. I've got, who else do I got a couple other ones because it is super flex. So I have a bunch, but Anthony Richardson's going to be my go-to guy this next season. Right. And so somebody offered me T. Higgins and Swift and then the 12. And I was like, I don't want to move that far back because that's dropping off so drastically. If someone offered me maybe a couple key players and maybe the 4th or the 5th, I would consider it, because I really could use a good running back, but no one's, and I've had it out there and nobody's offering it to me. So I'll probably just end up, drafting, who knows, probably Marvin Harrison. Right.
Well, so it's a super flex league.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there is a chance Marvin goes 101. So look up to who, with the team with the 101, if they're set at quarterback too, they might be thinking, give me the elite receiver. But if they are really quarterback needy, you can probably just be content to stay at 102. Take Harrison. I guess the other thing too, Courtney, I would say is not even a trade back. Could you just trade out entirely? What's the best player, or maybe a player and a future pick that I could get for this 102? So
that's a good way to look. Yeah, I haven't. I'm so selfish when it comes to the picks that I really would like a pick in that first round. But if I could get a next year's pick and a really, really good young. Gosh, I really need a running back. That's my weakest link in that one because I have Tank Dell in this league. I have Chris Olave in this league. I have, I can't remember because they all blur together. But I'm really good with some young wide receivers. I've got some good young tight ends. And of course, then I have Anthony Richardson. So I really need that running back piece. And I haven't, Swift isn't going to make the move for me. That's not enough.
No, for sure.
That's not enough.
I would look to look at your whatever your ranking thresholders. Okay, this is the lowest running back I'd want to trade for. I've got Swift at RB14, for instance. I don't know if yours would be drastically different, but if that's the case, okay, who are the 13 running backs ahead of him, and then who of those running backs are on teams with later first, and like you said, maybe that's how you get your later first. You get a better running back and maybe something slightly better than the 112, and that's how
Yeah.
you don't need the three pieces if you can get two quality pieces, a true running back that can turn it around for you. But honestly, if Harrison seems like that good of a prospect that even if you draft him and then trade him at some point later in the offseason or before the season starts, because once the season starts and he doesn't produce, then it's okay. His value will the demand won't be as there. But if he hits right away, then it's okay, skyrocket price too. So there's a bit of risk reward there with these receivers. We've seen so many good ones produce immediately that now it's almost the expectation. If they don't, they might take a hit in value.
Yep.
Jamie said he's not selling Higgins in any of the 5 leagues he has. So I guess Jamie either likes the idea of the Bengals landing spot, or is kind of also maybe hoping, okay, they tag him this year. What happens next year? Does next year he get that big free agency contract from someone else? Maybe next year is the time to sell him, not now. So Jamie can expand on that. He does have a question for us, though. So
shoot.
He did ask this a while ago. We tangented so many times that maybe it's a good time to answer it. So what do you think of this dynasty trade? Sent away Chris Godwin and the 406 for Kyle Pitts.
Is it tight end premium, Jamie? I'm assuming. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the extra context would be nice there. Number of starters too. But on the surface, getting that much younger in theory makes sense in Dynasty.
I was going to say the same thing. I know that Kyle Pitts has had, we expect him to come out of the gates just slinging, but it's not like he's put up horrible numbers, and he is that he's got a new offensive core. I mean, he's got a new coach, right? So the sky could be the limit with this kid, and he's still very young, and he's still got a lot of tread on the tires, right? He's still got a lot to go. And we saw ups and downs with Godwin this year, and a 406, that doesn't even matter. So it's basically Godwin for Pitts, and I think that I would lean for Pitts.
I think the other thing, too, is look at this new coaching staff you mentioned. Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson, both with the Rams last year. So this is probably heavily influenced by Sean McVay. And when we think of Sean McVay, okay, think of the 3 wide receivers, how he can constantly use them. The classic one was Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. I'm pretty sure all 3 were top 24 wide receivers. So you could sustain something like that. But we've also seen, I believe it was last year, where Tyler Higbee had it was well over 100 targets. Actually, this was on the Christmas episode, a trivia question that we got right as a team, because it was who had the most targets among tight ends, and there was 4 listed outside of, I think he was third outside of Kelsey and Andrews, who was third in tight end targets, and it turned out to be Tyler Higbee. So if you look at it, the Falcons outside of Drake London, and you could say Bijan Robinson as well, but pass catching weapons, there's not much there. I mean, Jonnu Smith's there too. Right. You got 2 tight ends, but I could see a scenario where they're looking at what the Rams did in 2022 as, okay, it was a heavy use of the tight end. We didn't have anyone else, so we'll send a lot of targets that way.
No, I agree. I think it's Jamie. I think it was a good trade.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And then for the Next Step Fantasy Football podcast, thanks for tuning in. Mentioned that Ritter has shown to be a high-end backup. Would you prefer Ritter or Minshew as your team's backup? But I think just to close our last conversation, not only are they getting the new offense, but I expect they're going to be upgrading the quarterback in some way. Maybe it's Ritter anyway, but that's the other team it seems like Justin Fields has been tied to a ton is the Falcons. So part of it
I agree with you on that one. They're not going to ride with Ritter.
So in theory, that should help Pitts. That should be a positive in Pitts, just in that he's getting a new offense with B, a new quarterback. So both things should be a equal to better positive there. Yeah, I'm struggling with this one because I understand the talent with Ritter. He's got the legs. He's fairly mobile. I feel like Minshew he's better at the deep balls. He's kind of like, when you put him in as a backup, he's kind of sling it and go win it type thing. And that's almost what you want in your backup quarterback, someone who's not going to be afraid to go lose the game. He's just going to go out there. So specifically as a backup, I think I would rather have Minshew. I'm thinking on the Packers. Let's not go with Sean Clifford, for instance. Let's bring in one of these 2. I think I'd rather have Minshew on the Packers than I would Desmond Ritter. So.
And I liked Minshew when he stepped in this year. I mean, thank God I had him. And, when I lost Anthony Richardson and Scott Fishbowl, I was so thankful that I'd picked up Minshew at one of my last 2 picks. And, oh, thank goodness. But you're right, and he really came into his own. It seemed like at the end of the season too, he was running balls in. He was kind of quarterback sneaking it in there and stuff, and actually using his legs a lot more in the red zone, which was nice to see. So yeah, I'd go with Minshew too. It's just Minshew keeps having these great little storylines, and Ritter has not shown us much.
Yeah, and I think especially backup for a young quarterback who you want to mentor, I think it's definitely Minshew. He's got a few more seasons of experience than Ritter, but he's run several offenses and he's done them well. And it seems like he's also, when he's unexpected, needed to come in, he can do it and win games and look great. Whereas Ritter, it seems like he was best early in the season when they gave him the job. They gave him several weeks to work with it. But I think back to when he replaced Mariota at the end of the 2022 season, he wasn't that great. Like his not throwing touchdowns, he kind of looked like Kenny Pickett does, to be honest.
Yes. No tight end premium, Jamie. We still go with Pitts. We still we still like the trade.
I think so. And I guess just the rest of his team here: Pittman, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper. Pretty nice receiver core there.
Well, and Jamie, maybe you could even turn around and trade off London, right? Like if you have Pitts, you got Pitts, maybe you could turn around and trade off London to somebody that wants a younger, wide receiver if you're concerned about having two players from the same team there. Some people are, some people aren't, but if you are, then that could always be an opportunity too.
And I like that situation more if I can just go, okay, figure out who the Falcons quarterback is and go trade for them. That would be difficult because we don't know who it is, but then I'd be more inclined to keep both if I already had the Falcons quarterback, just play it as a full stack.
Sam Howell? Go trade for
maybe.
Sam Howell.
Maybe go trade for him now and hope he gets the job. But to be fair, if London and Pitts get most of the targets, then it doesn't really matter that you have both on your team because you know they're both absorbing a ton of volume. So
yeah,
it's the assumption that they are the two main targets on the team, and it's Zach Robinson will view them as such. I think Morris already mentioned that. Morris, the head coach, now he's a defensive coordinator, formerly defensive coordinator. Defensive side of the ball is going to be his discipline. So, he's going to oversee everything. So he will have influence on the offense. That certainly seems like it's going to be Zach Robinson's offense to call. But one of the things Raheem Morris said in his introductory press conference was he specifically named, I don't think it was Pitts. I think he specifically named Drake London and Bijan Robinson as we're going to game plan to where it'll never be, we can never give them too many touches. If they're your best players, right. you use them as much as you can and as often as you can. If they truly are mismatches and weapons to use, you want to find creative ways to constantly get them the football. And I would imagine Pitts would enter into that too if he wasn't directly quoted. I think a bunch of people were freaking out, especially Pitts managers and the Pitts truthers, which seems like there's a ton of. So
but Pitts is like a mini DK. Like that boy's a beast. They give him the ball and they start putting him in those specific game plans, and he's going to do magic with the ball. He will. I still have hopes with Pitts. I still have a lot of hopes with him.
So, right. That tight end room without tight end premium: Njoku, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson. I think what Jamie has here is like long play tight ends, and I'll talk about the picks in a sec. But Njoku's probably the guy that's going to produce right away. This is Brown's homer pick too. If Pitts rebounds, maybe he rebounds in value back up to like skyrocket. Tight end 1 again in Dynasty. If he ever rebounds that price, then you sell him off that. So maybe that's what that's for. And then Hawkinson, I guess, is a good hold. He might miss most of this season, recovery from that ACL, MCL tear. Certainly it doesn't seem like his value is going to be very good up until he's back on the field. So you definitely hold him through that. But if he's not playing, you still have 2 other tight ends you can rotate through your room. So I guess I like this. What I wouldn't want to do is add any more tight ends to this. Like this should probably be just the 3 tight ends on the roster and have depth at every other position, especially running back.
Pretty good tight ends to have a problem with.
Yeah, for sure. So 101 and 106. And he's saying he's already earmarking it to be Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze. So I haven't dove fully into the rookies yet. I mean, I have. I've dove quite a bit. I'm still not done with specifically my running back grades. I do have a wide receiver ranking, and Rome Odunze is not my wide receiver 3. And I've seen some like mock drafts where he ends up on the Giants. I'm definitely not. If he goes 6 overall to the Giants, I don't care that he was a top 10 pick. That's an awful landing spot.
Yeah.
Unless they make a change at quarterback, but Daniel Jones' contract does make that somewhat difficult to do. So if it's Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, and they take Rome Odunze 6, he is definitely not my wide receiver 3. But to be fair, he isn't my wide receiver 3 right now, but that's not going to make me want to use him. If he ends up in a good spot, okay, that could definitely be something. But I do think, Jamie, it's a little premature to just say Adunze is going to be the one. I get Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
Seems like he's one of the best prospects we've seen at wide receiver in quite a while. Probably the best since Jamar Chase, to be honest, which I guess isn't that long ago. But so I get like going that 101 if you're confident with your quarterbacks. And Adunze over Bowers. Like, I also think Bowers might suffer from a bit of Kyle Pitts where he's being overhyped. So I'd look to trade the 106 honestly on that hype, with people wanting either Adunze or Bowers. Like, I think in that spot, after what we view as the top two receivers, I think one of them went to your state school, right? LSU, like neighbors. Am I correct there? I hope I'm not.
Oh, me? Yeah, LSU's a neighbor. SEC.
Yeah, so like those two will probably be in the top 5, and then the 3 quarterbacks. Yes. Williams.
I like Daniels, you should trade. You should try to see what you could get for that 106, Jamie.
Yeah, I think someone's gonna fall. I mean, he seems like he really likes Adunze. Find someone in your league that likes Adunze even more than you, Jamie, and they'll pay so much for that. So yeah,
because you're still getting. I mean, you could still walk away with Marvin Harrison Jr. and maybe some pretty good depth in some other positions. That'd be nice.
Okay, so Jamie's talked about Next Step Fancy, the other person who commented earlier. He's been in. He's okay. He's a Gory for Two member on our Sunday morning show. Okay, awesome. Likely be joining their podcast in the off season. So yeah, cross promotion there. I'll support each other. Thank you, and thank you, Jamie, for watching. Okay, so that's the first topic done.
The first topic done.
So yeah, you had a few topics you want to talk
about. I kind of hit the 2 topics. I kind of hit the 2 topics talking about quarterback with the pick to Jaden Daniels. Thinking that the Commanders might be taking him and what to do with Sam Howell. My other one was speaking of the Commanders is how in the world did Eric? Gosh, I'm going to butcher his last name. Bieniemy not get a head coaching job. How did he not get a head coaching job? Is there something? I mean, I understand that he was so good with the Chiefs, right? So good with Andy Reid, and then he went to the Commanders, and they said, well, they didn't let him go. He chose to leave. Do you think he's just done with the NFL for now, or because UCLA is good, but it's not like the creme de la creme. And I don't know. I was really shocked that he did not get a job. And maybe he wasn't seeking it. Maybe he wanted to go back to college. I don't know.
I'm actually shocked he didn't just go back to the Chiefs. I figured they would kind of welcome him back as the OC. Okay, if you're right, if no one's even giving you an OC job. Well, you could always get that with us. But I guess part of him leaving the Chiefs was it seemed like he, unlike other Andy Reid offensive coordinators, it seems like he was being hampered by the fact that you were not always calling plays. There's some inconsistencies there. I will say, shout out to Full Press Coverage. Terrence Biggs wrote a great article about it, and there's some, not to quote him, it's not all black and white. Although Terry himself is black, and so he's obviously dealt with a ton of racism because it's the world. That's how it is.
Absolutely,
which is awful. But that's. But anyway, he says there probably plays a part, but there's also some other things that are Bieniemy himself. A checkered past. He has a few run-ins with the law. There's also, and this came out especially with the Commanders. We've seen a bit of it from the Chiefs, but the players really think he's overly aggressive with his style, overly abrasive, overly critical when they make mistakes. He's really intense, and he was a former player, and he brings that type of intensity attitude that he had as a player to coaching. But it also seems like 21st century, 2024 players don't necessarily appreciate being coached that way. So
I don't know. Buck it up, Buttercup. You're in the NFL.
yeah. But if it comes down to appeasing these franchise quarterbacks or other players or these coaches, these teams who invest so much money into these, especially quarterbacks, aren't going to necessarily like that. So it feels like there's Bieniemy kind of has to change something somewhere. And I think part of that was the thought of changing the situation, getting out of Kansas, running my own offense, and that will let me showcase it. But now it almost looks like it's caused him to take a step backwards because of how bad the Commanders were. Not necessarily his fault, but they also didn't operate well. I think part of it, too, was last season it seemed like one of the things the Commanders did, let's be sure. Is Sam Howell the guy? because it seems like they're ready to move on from him. They wanted to make sure that he wasn't in fact the guy, and I think they got their answer. They let him throw the ball a ton. They didn't shelter him in the offense. I think that might have been the mandate, but it also seemed to, by the end of the year, they had to bench him for Jacoby Brissett a couple times. It just really wasn't operating. So to be fair, he did what the Commanders wanted him to do. He designed the offense to showcase Sam Howell, and now they got their answer that we have to move on. At least it looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I just hate it for the guy because and I don't know. I mean, obviously we're not on that, that side. I don't know what's going on in their personal life or anything, but I just was, seeing all these openings going across the NFL, and I'm like, how did he not get a shot again? But
it seemed like there was talk you might get the Seattle OC job, but then they got someone from college. So yeah.
Because I was pushing for him hard.
Your Saints.
Well, I wanted him as our head coaching position, and then they chose Dennis Allen. I knew they were going to too. I knew they were. I knew they were. But see, I wanted him there. I think a lot of teams wanted him just because, and maybe that's just the way that I was raised. I like that. I like that aggressive, that aggressive-ness from a coach, because to me, that's passion. And maybe it's not for everybody, but I'm a coach, and I coach soccer, and I'm pretty aggressive with my kids, but I'm also, it's the flip side, right? Like, this is what we did wrong. This is how we're going to fix it. Now let's go do it. Right. So we have a positive and a negative, and we fix it. And so maybe it was all negative and there weren't the positives with it. So, who knows, but UCLA is lucky to have him.
One of the things they say is, when things are going right, he'll celebrate you as a specific individual player. You do something right, he'll be in your corner. He'll cheer you. Like, he'll be as intense positively as he was the negative when he was critical and needing to correct things. But I guess there's so much losing in Washington that the positives weren't necessarily coming. And so
yes. Well, maybe they're about to get Jaden Daniels and things will turn around. I don't know.
We'll find out.
That's right. What do we got? About
2 months.
2 months, give or take.
Yeah, end of April. Yeah, basically 2 months.
Yeah. I haven't dove in as much as I've wanted to on rookies either. Life's been so busy lately, but I definitely have been. I have been looking, and it's it'll be a fun one. It will definitely be a fun little draft. They always are, though.
I'm close to being done my running back scouting. I think I've got 11 players fully graded out, and there's another maybe about another 9 or 10 on the way. I'm close to. So still trying to watch, still trying to grind.
Yes, I know. Ditto. So, tell me about your curling.
Yes. Well, I'm wearing a Dynasty curling hat. Back to Jamie's first comment of the night. Hey, ladies, which is very appropriate for this week. It was the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, which is the Canadian National Women's Curling Championship.
Okay.
So, there's 13 provinces and territories in Canada. So typically you'll get a team represented from everyone, and then there's also wild card teams, and of course the defending champ always returns as Team Canada. So it's try and get the best of all the women's curling teams across Canada into one tournament. And I know this year the territory of Nunavut did not send a team, so that opened up one extra spot. So they ended up having one of the things they did this year was the top 3 teams standings-wise automatically qualified. Because typically what you have to do is you have to play your provincial or territorial tournament first, and that's how you qualify to get in. You represent your province because you won your provincial championship.
Okay.
There's a couple teams that got in before, so they didn't, Team Canada automatically got in, but then they had the 3 highest next teams come in automatically without having to play through provincials. But anyway, they said as a result of this, they had, I think, the 8 highest ranked teams in Canada all in this event, plus the 10 other teams as well. So the quality level was just incredible. And yet, as great as the quality of competition was, Rachel Homan, who's one of the best curlers in the world, she went undefeated through the tournament, perfectly capped it off, and won the thing. It's her 4th Scotties title. So we'll represent Canada at the World Championships in less than a month. Usually they start at the end of March. So.
Did you get to go to them? Were you in person?
No.
Like, were you see it? No.
Oh no, these were in Alberta. Way
oh,
west.
okay.
But
okay.
My wife and I watched a ton on TV. So.
That's awesome. So I have always curling's one of those things that you see them do in the Olympics and stuff, and you're like, that looks like the most fun ever. And they just opened up we just got a new event center down here in Tahoe, in South Lake Tahoe, and they just got okay, you ready for this?
Oh yeah.
Tim Tebow.
Ooh.
Tim Tebow. He started an amateur hockey team here.
Oh. Because he wants to play that sport too.
Yes, so he's he's like the head of this. They call him like the Tahoe Tessies or something, like the Loch Ness Monsters, right? And they are doing curling lessons for adults on random days, coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go try this. So I'm gonna try to make at least 1 or 2 lessons just for the fun of it, just to go learn, because it just looks like the most. I mean, come on, none of those people are really in shape. They're sitting out there drinking beer, having the time of their life, curling their lives away, and I love it. Like, this is. I mean, maybe in Canada it's a little bit more intense, but have you ever seen our guys that are like Americans that are out there
I'll give John Schuster credit, because he is an incredible shot maker. And he doesn't have to sweep, so he doesn't have to be as in shape. But yeah, the one.
When I see some of these guys out there curling, though, come on.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? Kind of like for offensive and defensive linemen, the beer gut helps because it's more weight. For some of these sweepers. Like some of these curlers are incredibly fit athletes, to be honest. But there are some.
I know. I'm just messing with them.
Weight on the broom, so I know that's kind of how I do it. I'm not so athletic, but if I'll use all my weight when I'm sweeping when I play curling. So, yeah, clearly not at that level. But
so you actually do. Do you and your wife curl?
She's gone out one time, but no, she just enjoys watching it.
Oh my gosh. Well, if I end up doing it, I'll have to report back to you and tell you how it is. But I'm really excited to go try it, because obviously it can be year round, because it's, a hockey rink. And so I'd like to go try it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
And you know what? Your quote is hilarious, because it does evoke. So we've got the Scotties, the female women's national tournament. There's also the Brier, which is the men's national tournament. That's actually starting on Friday. Randy Ferbey, who skipped to 4 straight Briers in the early 2000s. He had a quote about curling and how it's changed, right? Like how, the curling athletes now, they're so much more shape. They're spending time in the gym, especially these sweepers. They're getting so strong and jacked, and stamina and endurance to keep up for long weeks, all that sweeping. It's important. Go Canada, Toronto Dave's here. Cool. But yeah, it's a team from Ontario that won, Rachel Homan. But anyway, he said, back in when I was curling, the most athletic part of the game was after it's over, you'd run to go get the table closest to the bar. That was the most athletic part. Now especially since it's become an Olympic sport, the standards have been so high. I know John Schuster has talked about how the U.S. Olympic Committee has got on him on that. Like, oh, you're an Olympic athlete. You need to be in better shape than that. And
right?
He's just kind of said, yeah, but I'm the best. Like, what?
Right, exactly. That's what I would say.
I guess they were really pushing, one of the Olympic, he won the gold medal. They were really pushing for him not to win that Olympic trials and trying to get other teams more funded and stuff. He went and he just won the trials because he's the best shot maker, and they had no choice. And he went and he won the gold medal. So
that's amazing.
So yeah.
Okay, well now you want me to now you're making me want to learn more about curling.
And of course,
that's what it's all about.
Talking about the other curling. So 55 pounds to each arm. And yeah, again, these curlers now probably can do even more than that. But yeah. How about tailgating for curling? Honestly, Dave, every curling rink has a bar, so you don't have to tailgate. You can just drink inside. Just
love it.
On the ice, but in the clubhouse.
Love it.
So Jamie wants you to go back to this. Did you say Tahoe Testies? No, it's Tessies.
Tessies. Tessies, like the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. Jamie will just hear whatever he wants to hear anyway.
But Jamie, I like that a heck of a lot better, because they're like calling them like Tahoe Monsters, but the actual picture is the Loch Ness Monsters, and it is based off of Tahoe Tessie, and so they say that in the lake. Yeah, and so but let's really get to the point that it was Tim Tebow who brought the team here, and that just makes me laugh. That just makes me laugh.
And the Tahoe Tessies.
That's correct. Yes.
Alliterations are awesome. Okay, Jamie's apparently an expert sweeper, so he knows how to you gotta directionally sweep at times. You might one person might sweep to keep the rock straight, the other one will sweep to curl it more. Like, he probably gets all that, and yeah, sweeping technique. But I'll say the tournament was fantastic, and honestly, the 2 teams that met in the final, Team Rachel Homan, she won her 4th. they beat Team Jennifer Jones. Jennifer Jones, she's I think she's 48 or 49 and still on the top of her game. She's lost the last two finals in a row. Announced that this was going to be her last Scotties appearance. She's focusing on mixed doubles curling only. Her and her husband are mixed doubles partners. That is also an Olympic sport now. It's been for the last two events, I think. So shout out to Caitlin Laws for winning with Jennifer Jones in the four-person tournament back in 2014 at the gold medal Olympic Games in Sochi, but also winning mixed double, 2 gold medals in curling. It's rare. John Morris has that too. So that was great to see that like curling's not just in the Olympics, but it's expanding different versions of it. But I'll say Jennifer Jones, one of the greatest curlers ever. 6-time Scotty champion, was going for her 7th, couldn't quite get to lucky number 7, but that is tied for the most ever. She's also an Olympic gold medalist. She's of those 6 Scotties champions, I believe she won 2 world championships as well. So has won every major tournament needs to be won. Jennifer Jones, one of the greatest curlers ever. It's sad to see her leave the game, but what a note to end on. Her and Rachel Homan faced 3 times through the week. They were in the same group. They played in one of the qualifiers or the 1-2 game in the playoffs. And then they played again in the final. And Rachel beat her all 3 times, but all 3 games were down to the last shot, basically inches away either side from winning. It was incredible. So, yeah.
Well, now you have made me, I love to see the passion that you are having for this. And now you have made me, now I'm going to have to go look it up while I'm in this meeting with my kid in a little bit I'm going to have to look this up now. Monster balls. Yes, Jamie, Tim Tebow monster balls.
Yeah, what a monster. Yeah, look up honestly, Jennifer Jones. If you can, again, alliterations are awesome. Look her up because she is a phenomenal curler, and unfortunately her curling career seems to be coming to an end, although the mixed doubles will still be there. But incredible shot maker, one of the best drawers ever. Like she's so great at just exact speed, placing the rock in phenomenal places. And it's, the idea of curling is, again, you're throwing these rocks and they will move to one side or another as with the spin you throw on it. So it's not only judging the weight, distance, speed, but also how much curls on there. There's so much that goes into it. And she's such a great skip for calling the game. And then when it's her turn to throw, perfect execution often. So Jennifer Jones, amazing.
Jennifer Jones, I'm looking her up.
Apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was good at curling too. I don't know that.
Of course he was.
Sometimes Austria will do well curling wise, but Switzerland, especially on the women's side, has been the dominant team lately. So imagine Rachel Homan going to represent Canada at the World Championships will certainly be looking for gold, but I think Switzerland has won, I think it's like 4 or 5 in a row. That Silvana Tirinzoni, Alina Petz combination team, that's just been incredible for Switzerland. So Rachel defeated Jennifer Jones. She's got another tough test coming up.
But you say the guys' one starts this Friday.
Yeah, for the men's, for the Canadian National. And then, again, I'm about a month and a half away from the World Championships, too. So this is my favorite time of the year to watch curling. You basically get 4 amazing tournaments back to back to back, where, one ends on one Sunday. And it's funny because it was, count the Super Bowl Sunday, 5 days later on that Friday was when the Scotties started. And it basically goes almost back to back. So the Scotties ended yesterday. We've got 4 or 5 days before the Brier. That'll go, and then once the Brier ends that Sunday, that next Friday, 5 days later, the Women's World Championship will start. So it's a great time of year, especially for me, to wean off the fact that there's no more gridiron football. I've got to wait till June for the CFL to start. Man, what do I do for sports? Oh yeah, curling. There we go. Because that'll also get to Stanley Cup playoffs, and so those are basically my 3 favorite sports: are football, curling, and hockey. So
I love it.
To be honest,
well, as soon as I go to one of these games, I'll have to send you pictures of Tahoe Tessie for sure.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Have you been to a live hockey game before?
I have. Well, I haven't been to a professional, but I've been to a bunch of just the farm teams. When I lived in Alaska, that's what we did. We had a local team, and that's what you would do. You get a season pass because it was cheap, and that's where we would go because it's dark at 3:00 every day in the winter, right? So, but then they sold the team, and it became, I want to say that it came over here, and it became somewhere in San Jose, maybe. I don't know that for sure.
The opposite as could be.
But they got rid of the team, and it was devastating for all of Anchorage, Alaska. It was this huge letdown, and they were like, well, not enough people went. And we're like, yes, it's Anchorage in the depths of winter, and it's only locals. What do you expect? It's not like a draw. It's not like going and seeing the Dallas Stars because there's so many teams in Dallas and you just get to go see whoever you want. That was it. But it's also, I mean, what, maybe 1,000 people there? And they just, I don't know, they just said it was, and I guess it was probably really hard to bring the teams up there to play too,
Travel
right?
costs.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of financial reasons. They
Yeah.
probably weren't
But
getting as
other
many
than-
sponsors as they could. And even if the San Jose isn't filling out the arena, they're getting more like local corporate sponsors to help.
Right.
fill it too.
Exactly. I
Or they won't
I
go
guess
back
I
to
do
that,
support,
apparently, so.
I guess I support the Vegas Golden Knights just because they're kind of I would say the localer team, and they've been doing kind of well. And there's a lot of kids around here that really like them. And so one day we'll hopefully get down there and see a game.
Hey, I mean, that would be a time to support them. They just won the Stanley Cup, so good for them.
Right?
They've got some pretty good players. I love Alex Pietrangelo, defenseman. He's great.
No, I'm not a hockey fan. Never really have been, but I mean, I guess that's what growing up in the South does for you, right? It's not really something you do.
Maybe the Tahoe Tessies will be a great test for you, and you'll.
Woohoo! Tim Tebow, woo!
I will laugh so hard if he goes on skates and he's actually playing there too, and you could say he was a 3-sport professional athlete, which is incredible.
I doubt it. I think he's doing it because he wants to just have his hands in a lot of stuff, right? He has the money to do it. You know, he can do that. So I think that's what the game plan was, right? So
maybe sound went out, but now it's back, so we're good. Crisis averted.
Crisis averted.
But yes, us Northern Canadians like our hockey, eh? Says
That's
Jamie.
That's awesome. That's awesome, though. Yeah, I mean,
Jamie.
That's pretty awesome. So hopefully it will develop here, though, because it would be fun to have something else here in this area. Because if you want to actually go, I mean, yeah, we have like the Reno Aces, which is the Farm League baseball team, and who are they for? I don't know who they're for. They're not for the Giants, though. And then, if you actually want to go see real baseball, you're going 4 hours to San Francisco so I think it's nice that there's other options around here, and having hockey's fun. I mean, even if you're with, not a real team and it's just a fun team like Tahoe Tessies, it's fun to get kids to go. You get to have a blast. You get to hit the glass, and everything. So I'd like my kid to have that experience, and he hasn't had that yet. So hopefully we'll go to some games. So
you talk about growing games globally, and part of it is putting the product in places where people aren't necessarily exposed to it often. So
right, totally.
Starts at a semi-pro or level, so be it. At least the game of hockey is so exciting that it gets people to want to do it and watch it and be excited about it. That's great. Yeah, Golden Knights are also a nice draw for Vegas. Supposedly, the Arizona Coyotes might go to Utah, so there you go. You're going
Interesting. It's hard, though. I mean, we've tried to go to a few Vegas games. Do you know that going to a Vegas football game is the most expensive football ticket? This past year, it was like the most expensive football ticket. Like, it's just...
Mark Davis really needs to make money to finance this move.
It's insane how expensive it was. I'm talking nosebleeds were still just astronomical. And yeah, you can go off the strip and have and get a cheap hotel. But if it's a weekend that, it's say whatever. I mean, even if it's nobody coming to town, right? They're still crazy expensive, even when the Raiders weren't that great this year. And so I don't know if we'll ever get the chance to go, because every time we look, it's like selling your kidney to try to go to a Vegas game.
I'm sure the Golden Knights tickets are probably a lot more affordable.
Probably yes. But I haven't looked into it. But one day I will. My kid's only getting older, so hopefully I will.
If it's Toronto Maple Leafs tickets in Toronto, no, those will be as expensive as the Raiders, guaranteed.
Really?
Probably. That's what I hear. I don't know if I'm about to buy tickets to the Leafs. I'm close enough to, I'm not in Toronto. It's about as far away from Toronto as I am from Ottawa. So I'm going to go to either city to see a hockey game. It's going to be Ottawa. The tickets are way cheaper.
I hear you.
But just, I guess one last question that came to mind, just on the Tim Tebow thing. Isn't he just one of the most incredible athletes ever? That he could play multiple sports professionally, even though he's not very good at either sport at all, but he's just that good of an athlete that he can almost will himself to make a difference on teams. And it certainly seems the one thing he has that we see some players just all the talent in the world, all the skills in the world, but don't have the mental side of being an athlete. It seems like he gets it. He understands how to be a leader on a team. All the hard work that goes into it. You have to think he worked so hard to be an NFL quarterback who couldn't throw the football. It's wild. He shouldn't have even got a shot, and yet he was athletic enough to be taken in the first round. And even though he's one of the worst, probably the worst passer for any quarterback who's ever played National League hockey too, and National League football, and even CFL football, he still won a playoff game because he's just
Yes,
that
that's what I was.
good of
Yeah,
a.
won a playoff game. Did you watch the Gators documentary on Netflix?
No, I don't like college football enough to watch stuff like that.
Well, it actually was pretty impressive, and the like links that he went to in the locker room and the way that he would it was seeing some of that old footage of him in the locker room with those massive young men that had wanted nothing to do with him because he was this yeah, he was a good quarterback, but he was this, farm boy whose parents still coddled him and stuff, and the way that he turned around the locker room. That might be, Tim Tebow might not be the best athlete in the world, but you're right. That boy could sell himself so well and was so, yeah, Bo Jackson, I was thinking of that too. But Tim Tebow, I agree with you. He was an incredible mindset athlete, which made him better than he actually was.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson actually is good at football and baseball. So
Yeah, right?
he's the best athlete ever, arguably because of that. Because he's actually good at those sports. Like Tim Tebow is not. He's not good at either
Yeah.
sport. Yet he's somehow was able to be a professional athlete in both, especially at
Yeah.
quarterback, the hardest position to play in sports. Apparently,
Yes.
he can do it,
Yes.
even though he's not good
Yeah.
at throwing, which is crazy. It's sort of
Well,
really
now he's
important.
got a hockey team, so woohoo! Trifecta.
I love that Jamie calls out Jim Thorpe. So he was a football player. He played in the early NFL. He was also an Olympian, multiple-time gold medalist. I think a lot of it was track and field, running, base sports. Held some world records at points. And I believe there was another sport he played too, and I can't remember it. But yeah, I could look it up with Jim Thorpe. But yeah, Jamie definitely could call upon Jim Thorpe because he was just unreal.
I'll look up some Jim Thorpe too. I got Jim.
He might have been a soldier as well. I think you might be right there, Jamie. He might have fought in World War One. Yeah, just one of the craziest. Truly, like Bo Jackson, like decades before Bo Jackson was a thing. And unfortunately, professional sports didn't give people as big a platform as it should have either. If he was Bo Jackson, if he was, if sports in the 1920s were like they are in the 2020s, how much more money he would have made in recognition. But yeah, great call out, Jamie. Thank you for
that. Woohoo! Well, Kyle, I'm about to have to run in here and grab my child.
Well, we're basically at the hour mark, so perfect timing.
I appreciate you so much coming in here and taking over for Gladys tonight, and I miss you, girl. Get back on here in 2 weeks. I love doing this with Kyle, but I miss you, girl. But Kyle, thank you so much, and thank you for the insight on the curling. I am really excited to actually go and look up some curling stuff now. I really am, because it's always been one of those things, and I'm like, oh, that would be so much fun to do, and so now I want to go check it out, and I'm going to. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I hope you do actually go to get a chance to actually try playing the sport too. It's quite fun, quite challenging, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I will let you know if we get to do it, because like I said, they just said it was going to be just a kind of, the fun kind of sign up and $10 drop in kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to do it for sure.
Learn how to throw, learn a few things, maybe play a couple ends together as people are learning that. Yeah, super fun.
Maybe drink a beer or two. You never know. We'll keep everything open for that.
That's pretty on brand for curling. So apparently I am the Jim Thorpe of podcast hosts, which feels like way too big a compliment, Jamie. So I appreciate that very much.
Oh, it is. It's the best though. You are the best, man, and we love you.
Oh, thank you, Cordy. And I appreciated Gladys for inviting me on. I guess I appreciated Gladys not being able to come on so I could. No, but seriously, Gladys is a great co-host. I know I've worked a lot with her in the past. Looking to continue to work with her in the future. So yeah, that's great. She also has the mock draft shows in no particular order. I believe there's one this Thursday.
Yeah, there should be. I think she does them every Thursday, right?
Every 2 Thursdays. I think it'll be
okay.
It'll alternate. So I think the next one is Super Bowl halftime shows, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to get in on that one. I'm gonna have to call her in on that one.
All right, yeah, you play your 2-point conversion co-host card and say, "Get me on."
I like it. I'm doing it. Thanks for the insight, Jamie. I like it. I mean, Cal, I like it.
Well, Jamie gave a lot of insight too. So yeah, thank you, Jamie. Also, thank you, Toronto Dave. Of course, the curling sweeping brooms. It's so integral as shooting, as the rock shooting itself is the sweeping. There's also Next Step Fantasy Football podcast as well. So all the people who watch this live, we really appreciate it. Thank you, Courtney.
Absolutely.
At Love Tractor 3, at Louvre Tractor 3, really.
Oh, it's Love Tractor. Don't be trying to church it up a little bit. It's Love Tractor.
All right, just in case people didn't know it's a you. That is you. That is your Twitter account. Mine's at Senra Says. Check out everything at the Going for Two Live network. There's tons of great shows like every night of the week, almost essentially every night of the week. So especially as we get to the off season, tons of different new programming in store here at the Going for Two Live network. So thank you very much, Courtney. Thank you all the viewers as well.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Hope everyone enjoyed this episode of the 2 Point Conversion.